mimic what God has instituted. The Jews got their power from the sacrifice of humans and drinking their blood and eating their flesh. And also, they ate the flesh of their fathers after they died to take on their spirit and the power that their father had to take on their spirit, and they engaged in some other things because of the children I can't go into. Okay? So, other practice they did, divination definition is to foresee, to be inspired by God, related to divineness. Divine is the attempt to gain insight into a question or situation by way of a cultic, standardized process or ritual. One of the things they did, if you know anything, Dungeons and Dragons, and anything about fantasy, one of the things you see the cauldron, the witches with the cauldron, or the bowl, the divining bowl, where they would put water in, and they would try to look into the future, or the crystal ball. That's pretty much where it came from. The casting of lots. What they would do is, if you see the right there, what they would do, they would mark it. In other cultures, you'll see they would use bones, and where they would cast it, and they would tell the future based on how it positioned itself, or how the letters positioned itself. This is their way to be inspired by a god, or to see the future, or to see what's going on. Moving right along. So, they developed their own calendar, the Celtic calendar. The two things we're really going to focus on is Samhain and Beltane. Beltane was the beginning of spring. It ended the winter months, the beginning of summer. It was the end of spring, it was the beginning of summer, it was the birth of summer. They would go into this wonderful festival to welcome summer in, and Samhain, which is the beginning of winter, it is the death of summer. So you have the birth of summer. Now understand, summer months is when everything kind of grew up, everything was harvested, a lot of the work that was done. So they really focused on Samhain and Beltane, and to mark those, they had festivals. Again, running parallel with God, if you read the Old Testament, there are many festivals and feasts that God had instituted for the people to mark what? Not just to have the time, but to mark also the blessings that God had bestowed upon them. And they had to follow these festivals. All right, so the Celtic, the missionaries haven't gotten there yet. Christians haven't gotten there yet. But Satan got there, and he pretty much had them marking their own calendars similar to how God had instituted. Okay? So the focus on, first we're going to start with Beltane. If you look at the word Baal, Beltane means the fires of Baal. Baal also just is a derivative from Baal, B-A-A-L, which came from out of the Bible. This quote was written by one of the ladies, Francis Speranza, who was a mystic and a druid, and she wrote in the Druids lit the Beltane, the holy lily fire of Baal. They would have this huge bonfire, and this still goes on today. If you go into Edinburgh, they have this every, in Beltane, May the 1st, they have this huge festival marking Beltane, and it is as demonic as they get, and they still do it today. They dress up, they paint themselves completely in red. They are nude, and they run around the bonfire. They have they do things, and this is pretty much marking, and if you see that, we're going to talk about the little symbol. This is a modern flag. You see that? That's the pentagram. And they do this every year. They have posters, they advertise it like we advertise at Hallelujah Fest. They advertise, you can go right online, and they let you know exactly when it starts. You have to register for it, all the preparation, and these people strip down, paint themselves in the nude, braid their hair, run around, and do all kinds of obscene things today. Not back then. Today. And these people are witches and warlocks. And they believe in what they're doing. So Baal found over 8 times in the Bible, like I said, the Lord condemns Baal worship probably more than any false god. So you see this false god, which is a dead demon, a high-ranking demon. And he has survived and he has prospered throughout the centuries. Okay? This is not Satan. This is somebody dispatched by Satan, one of the lieutenants of Satan, who has operated as a false god throughout all the years. So that's Beltane, the birth of summer. Move right along. Then there's Samhain. Samhain means the death of summer. And it marks the ending of the harvest season and the beginning of the winter or darker half. Now, the thing about Samhain, they believe in the Celtic religion, the Druids believe that the mystic veil separating the dead from the living is open. And the Druids taught these Roman spirits, taught in their lore, they taught that these Roman spirits were loosed on this day and went searching for a body to possess. Frightened Celts would masquerade as demons, evil spirits, and ghosts, hoping to convince the Roman evil spirits they were another evil spirit and leave them alone. The Celts also prepared meals as treats to appease the evil spirits from tricks or malicious acts. Hence our custom of trick-or-treat. The Jews performed horrifying human sacrifices and other vile rituals during Samhain. Let there be no doubt, Samhain night was a terrifying covenant with death and with hell. So, what they did was, this was a time, Samhain, this was a time where not only did they control the people by telling them that evil spirits were roaming the earth, but in order to appease them, they did treats. But another way to appease them was through human sacrifice. Who did they sacrifice the most? Children. They would sacrifice them, they would eat their flesh, they would drink their blood, and the Druids would gain power through this, and the people who didn't want to be sacrificed were possessed by demons. They would dress up as demons, okay? And we're going to talk about how that evolves into what we do today. Again, Samhain seemed as a time when the door to the other world opened enough for the souls of the dead and other beings to come into our world. Now, the Roman Empire is starting to conquer the entire world. And by the 1st century, the Roman Empire, Holy Roman Empire, has entered into England, Scotland, Ireland, and they've conquered these lands. One of the first things that they did, because it was against Roman law to sacrifice humans or commit murder, they abolished it. They said, this ain't happening, so they tamped down on all of that was happening. Well, here comes the Catholic Church. Hence the Holy Roman Empire. Versus the Roman Empire, they tamped it down. Here comes the Catholic Church, which is a cult. I don't care if you got Catholic friends. They are a cult. And what they did was say, well, they adopted a lot of the practices of the Druids and the Celts to further their mission. And that's what they did. They went in and they said, well, okay, we understand what you're doing. This is what we're doing. But they knew they couldn't completely force the religion on the people. So they started adopting their practices. Why? So the people would be a little bit more subservient to them. Okay? So, this is what the Catholic Church did. First, they instituted All Souls Day, which is the day before All Hallows Eve. And we're going to talk about All Hallows Eve. They had All Souls Day, and then All Hallows, and Hallow means holy. All Hallows Evening, which was October the 31st. Now, this is going by the Roman calendar now. October the 31st, and which is derivatives of that All Hallows Eve, Halloween, or Halloween. And then there's All Hallows Day, which is, we call All Saints Day, which is November the 1st. That's a Catholic holiday. If you talk to any Catholic, they can tell you about All Saints Day. And so, again, Hallow means to make holy, sanctify, consecrate. So what they said is they recognized Samhain, and they said, okay, well, we're just going to call that that period of time All Hallows Day and All Hallows Eve and All Saints Hallows Day. Okay? Now the Middle Ages is developing, the Catholic Church is growing, and during this period of time, they're not really suppressing the occultic religions, the occult has kind of gone underground, but they're gaining strength and they're gaining power because the Catholic Church is not really messing with them. Because at this point, the Catholic Church is all about money and power. They're just pushing, as long as you paying your taxes, paying your dues to us, as long as the church, the Catholic Church is being strengthened by the king and the monarchy, they really don't care what you practice in your house or behind closed doors. As long as when it's mass time, you better show your butt up here, drop your couple of coins, and go about your business. Okay? Nobody's reading at this time. Nobody is, the majority of the populace who are poor are illiterate, and they rely on the Catholic Church for all things Christian-oriented or all things biblical. All right? So what they do is everything is beginning to evolve, and it evolves into, again, like I said, All Saints Day becomes All Souls, and the day before, which is All Hallows Day, becomes All Souls Day. So we recognize all the souls who have gone on, and on November 1st, we recognize all the saints. Everybody's been canonized. All the Christians have gone to heaven, and so they make this wonderful celebration. They start adopting a lot of the practices with costume parades, wild parties. This is the Catholic Church. Licentiousness, another word, lustful, perverted acts during this parade. And this is endorsed by the Catholic Church. Okay? Because it was already being done by the people at that time in that area. The Irish, the Scottish, the English, the Welsh, they're already doing it as based on their Celtic religion. So they said, well, let's just join the party and have some fun. Okay? All Hallows Eve. Now, during this period of time, and this is pretty much one of the quotes, as the darkness now draws near, see the cycle of the year, as the light now goes within, let the Hallows dance begin. This is a Wiccan prayer, a Wiccan quote and ritual, and with all, and they, even the Celtic religion now, has now adopted All Hallows Eve, because they considered their day holy. They were doing some abominable things, but to them it was wholly separated, set apart, sanctified. During this period of time, they believed, sorry Tinkerbell, but they believed in fairies. On All Hallows Eve was a night when the dead stalked the countryside. Offerings of food and drink were put out for the ghosts. We're seeing how things are evolving, where it wasn't just demons, but it was just the ghosts, the spirits of the dead family members who walked the earth on All Hallows Eve, and so they will put out food for them and commemoration to feed the dead who walked the earth. And Mama so-and-so and Grandma so-and-so and Grandpa was walking the earth, so they put out food for them. They passed by the west always, the direction of the dying sun at sunset. The fairies could also be seen moving from one fairy hill to another with the music of bells and elf horns. You was talking about, I was cracking up when you was talking about sounds. Now people were hearing sounds and stuff like that. They were sometimes identified with the dead. Dark and colder creatures still roam through the night on Halloween. Demons and hobgoblins, witches who straddled broomsticks or shank bones, flew in the sieve or eggshells, or rode on cold black horses. So you see where the demonology is really becoming more and more prevalent, even recognized by more prominent people during this period of time. There was really a revival of the death of the dead, the focus on the death of the dead, resurrection, demon possession. They really started to try to access through divination. There was really, and I'll get to it, this revival of really tapping into dark powers and spiritual, demonic spiritual powers and the supernatural. So the Dark Ages. Now when you hear about the Middle Ages, during that period was also the Dark Ages. They call it the Dark Ages for two reasons. In secular society, they call it the Dark Ages because they say people were illiterate. Actually, at that time, it was called the Dark Ages because the occult, it was a revival among the occult. they really had the freedom, because the Catholic Church didn't care, they really had the freedom to practice all of their witchcraft and all of their dark powers and divination and rituals and sacrifices without any interference from the government or the Catholic Church. Catholic Church didn't care. The Catholic Church controlled the government, which was the monarchy at that time. And there was this in Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, there was this huge revival of occultic practices. This is where witchcraft really started to get develop its norm. If you one of the scriptures that I love, I always say, "Suffer not a witch to live." The Bible recognized witchcraft all the way in the Old Testament. Witchcraft was banned completely when he brought the because witchcraft was real. Now I'm saying it was real. These people had power. Witches have power, but don't get it twisted. I don't want you to think it's some little nice wicked lady doing white magic and blah. Real witches have power. And in the Bible time, God said, don't even let them live. And there's if you think about the recount when Saul went to the witch of Endor, she had power. And she tapped in to some she didn't even realize, and when she tapped into the dead, she was like, wait a minute. And the dead, Samuel told her, you need to let him know X, Y, and Z. Witches had real power. And God would not tolerate witchcraft because of what they did in order to become witches. Okay? Let me read this. When a person became a witch, he or she entered into a pact with Satan. This is coming from a real Wiccan, a high-ranking priestess in the Wiccan. I can't even call it religion, but in the Wiccan whatever. When a person became a witch, he or she entered into a pact with Satan to worship him. They deny the creator of heaven and earth. They recognize that there is a creator of heaven and earth, but they deny him. They deny their baptism with Christ if they've been baptized. They deny the worship formerly paid to God. They adhere to the devil and believe only in him. They are rebaptized in the devil's name. They promise to sacrifice children to the devil, a step which led to the stories of witches murdering children. Also, they request of the devil and so rebel. A lot of our folklore and fairy tales, if you think about the witches, even the Wizard of Oz and things like that, they request of the devil for their names to be written in the book of death. They tattoo themselves with the devil's mark in various parts of their body. The mark might vary in shape, magic circle or number 666, a serpent, an evil eye, a spider, a bat, a rabbit foot, or a toad. You see these people with these tattoos, they start thinking twice. Some of them just don't know what they're getting. But you don't know who you're dealing with sometimes. Witches were supposed to have a variety of different powers which kept the people in fear of them. Witchcraft practitioners place spells by some spoken words or form of words believed to have magic power, binding by spell or charm. Black cats associated with darkness and death, they embody demons who perform the witch's task of malfeasance against their neighbors. Black cats are said to be the devil himself. Now, if you look at our time now, pay attention to media and what's coming on TV a lot. You got American Horror Story coming. You got the Witches of Eastland. I know y'all know. Eastern. You got, that was 10. No, I'm joking. You have Charm. You have Supernatural. You have the Headless Horseman. Yeah, what is the, and if you and you start to see witchcraft becoming more and more prevalent and needed. Pay attention to that. Yes, sir.
What about this guy?
Chris Angel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to you. I'm gonna will get to him. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're saying, and he got a new show out too. All right. So the Bible says witchcraft or rebellion is as the sin of. So you got to be careful when you're rebellious, because God compares you to a witch. Why is that? Because rebellion completely goes against every tenet, every commandment, everything that God has instituted for his people. And that's what a witch does. A witch completely denies everything God in order to not just gain power, but to just to be counted as a real witch. Okay? Is that Exodus 22:18? Stuff for witch not live? Yes.
Can you give me some examples,
Rebellion? Oh, another Bible study. You told what to do and you don't do it. You told what to do and you do kind of a little bit of it, but in your heart you really don't want to do it. So you halfway do it. It is not in your heart to be obedient. We're not talking about typical